Thank you that you are here with us. Thank you that you inspire us, Lord. That you loved us first. That you take care of us, lead us, guide us everywhere we go. Lord, I want to pray for anybody here that's got physical ailment or sickness in their body. Will you heal them now in the wonderful name of Jesus Christ? If they feel hopeless, come and inspire them and give them new hope. Lord, may they just be aware of your presence. And come you and sow the seed, Lord, so that we can bear fruit and testify about your goodness in our lives. In the name of Jesus, I pray this. Amen. You're welcome to take your seat. Thank you guys for coming to our English service. We have just returned from an outreach in Mozambique. We were there for 2 weeks. And we worked a bit, like you saw the video that we started with. And it was quite physical. But we're glad we're back. We ate some local food as well. And that's always a challenge. There's a thing they call cassava. It's like a plant root. And I must say, we ate it raw, and that was quite nice. But when they dry it out, and it's like how can you call it, maize meal, it's not so nice. And they cook it, that's not really nice. But we really do enjoyed the work that we did. The first week we ministered to a lot of people that was hit by a big cyclone. If you drive into the city of Beira, you would see all the roofs of all the buildings. It's actually like, it looks like paper that's just thrown everywhere. They just took it, made a ball of it out of it, and just lies everywhere. That whole city looks like that. You haven't seen that much damage in your life before if you haven't witnessed something like that. And in Beira, we went to a guy's house. He was for 22 days, he was standing knee deep in the water each and every single day of his life. So I don't know how they slept at night, but he had sores still on his leg of being in the water the whole time to repair his own house and to rebuild and to start helping people. So on the books of Mozambique, they said they've lost 7,000 people in that area, but they have reports of 22,000 people that's never showed up again. Because their administration system is very outdated, so they don't usually do it like we do it in South Africa. They've got an ID or a fingerprint or a birth certificate for everyone. So they said they've got 22,000 missing reports on people that's gone. So they say there's been a lot of death in the country. So we help the people by giving them seeds so that they can replant and inspire them and help them find new hope and some method in that madness. And the second week we went to Inhambane. It's a bit lower. It's quite a bad road between Inhambane and Beira. You wish actually that you would drive on a gravel road and not on the tar because of the holes that's in the tar. It's like if you drive too fast, you're going to mess up the trailer or the car and the tires and everything, and you can't afford to do that there. So when we came down to Inhambane, we went to a little primary school. They didn't have any floor, so we decided we're going to fix their floor for them, and we'd also hanged some doors and made some windows for them and played with the kids, and we had an inauguration like you saw it on the video. And it was a good time, and we had an off day. You also saw some of those pictures when you came in. We went on a local boat called a dhow with a sail, and so they actually rowed with one of those long sticks, or if it's too deep, they just use what do you call it? I can't remember. No, a horse. Well, okay, that thing. That Connie said. Okay. But yeah, so we went to a local island. It was so filthy, and it was actually the Survivor Island where they made, well, that's what we heard. They made the South African Survivor on that island. But we ate some local food there. We visited, there was 960 people living on that island. But it's bad circumstances, very bad circumstances. But we thoroughly enjoyed the trip. We came back physically tired, but it was physically very challenging. But emotionally, we work harder here than there. But we're glad we're home. It's nice to have a nice hot shower and have all the stuff we have. You learn to appreciate what you have if you go on an outreach like this. I always challenge everybody. I say, at least do a pilgrimage once in your life. There's other religions in the world that they do actually pilgrimage stuff. So there's a lot of Christians that actually decide to go to Israel somewhere in their life, Jerusalem and stuff like that. But if there's one that you will definitely find worthwhile, is to go on an outreach into an African country and just go and help the people. That will stay with you forever, and you won't forget that. You won't forget the experience. We can testify to that. We've been doing it yearly. And the main reason we do the outreaches is to give people exposure. The secondary reason why we do it is to help the people that's in need. So our main reason is not to go and help Mozambicans, because South Africa has got just as much need. Our main reason is for us that lives in South Africa to actually see how the world around us looks like and how they keep on going at it. Now, today I want to talk about a new series that I'm going to start. I'm not sure how long this is going to be. And I wasn't sure about what I was going to say this morning, but in the Afrikaans service it came out okay, so strongs for the English one. The title of this sermon series is Fight for It. Fight for it. And the question I want to start with this morning is, what are you fighting for? And people say, Hannes, life's supposed to be peaceful. Why do I need to fight? Well, in that case, you're fighting for peace. But the fact of the matter, we all fight. You either fight for your children, you fight for your marriage, you fight for income every month. We all have a road that we're on, and on this road, there's stuff that I need to push to get it. And there's no other way to get through it. Maybe it's to get your body in shape so that you can look nice. Maybe it's just that you can get all the stuff that you want in life. Maybe it's a sickness that you're fighting each and every single day of your life. It can be something serious, it can be something minor, but we all are fighting. And this morning, I want to suggest to you that you would start fighting for resilience. So what is resilience? The definition of resilience is bouncing back from disruption. And this sounds good because all of us have disruptions in our life from time to time. It's never not there. You might have been disrupted this morning when you got up. The kettle bursted, or your mug of coffee just fell over on your computer, or maybe somebody just drove slowly in front of you. Maybe the pollen affected you so much that you needed to take something for your allergies. It can be anything. We all experience disruptions. And how do we get through it, and how do we get over it? That is something we need to fight for. That's something worthwhile to fight for each and every single day of your life. And that's what we call resilience. Resilience is fighting for it. So disruption is like the weather. You get all these people, they give you a forecast of how the weather would look like today. And usually it's not exactly that way. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Disruption, and the weather is also very unpredictable sometimes. But disruption works exactly the same. Sometimes you can predict something is coming. There's a storm coming. There's going to be a bomb that's going to burst. Something's going to happen. You can't exactly know the intensity of it, but you know something is coming. And what we don't like about disruptions is we're never prepared enough for it. We don't know how to react. The biggest thing is we like to be in control, and it makes us feel that we have no control in life. And that's why we don't like disruptions. So our natural response is not to fight for resilience. Our natural response is to run from disruption. We want to get over it, under it, next to it. We just don't want to go through it. And that's the main goal of a lot of people. So, but if you think about it, what if you can fight for it? What if you can go through it with a smile on your face and get to the other side stronger than you were before you started? Because it's possible. It is possible. Our natural response towards disruption is usually negative, like I just said. We moan about it. When something happens, can you believe it? This is going to be such a bad day. My day started this way. The other thing we do is we excuse ourselves. I don't have strength for this. Bye-bye. You just leave. In the meantime, you're supposed to do something about it. Or the other thing we do is we blame when disruption pitches up on our doorstep. We blame someone. You know what? My wheel of my car, it went flat, but it's because the municipality is not preparing the potholes. You search for blame, and each and every single time you blame, you excuse yourself from disruption, and you never go through it. We tend to want to run around it the whole time. We don't seek resilience to get through it. And that's something that I believe, if I read my Bible correctly, that we can actually do. And we can develop resilience in our lives. Now, the doctors, all the clever people, they made this little graph here. The psychology teaches us this, and the medicine teaches us this little graph that I'm showing you here. I just called it bouncing back. This on the side here is your morale, how you feel each and every single day, and at the bottom it's your time. So Y morale, X is time. And when something happens to you, when something disrupts you, it looks like this. You can see there the first little skate ramp. Yeah. Well, skateboard, skate ramp, if you can call that. That first little ditch there is when something happens to you, like let's say for instance you're on your way to work and suddenly your car's wheel is flat. The first thing you tell yourself is, it can't be. You haven't checked yet, but you just tell yourself it can't be. Somebody gets sick and they've got a terminal sickness, they've just received the news. The first thing is, no man, it can't be. Somebody just heard that they're getting a divorce or they experience a divorce, and the first thing is, you can't be. So the first reaction we have to disruption is usually denial. And then we tell ourselves it's not like it. And then it sinks in slowly and it goes downwards. Your morale goes downwards because you realize that this is really happening. And our next step when experience disruption is anger. You get angry. And I can use the car. You're angry at your car. This is a stupid car. And you start blaming. Why did these guys bring these cars into the country? But you're not only angry. When you experience that stuff, you don't only stay angry at the thing that's disrupting your life. You sometimes get angry at yourself. You even start blaming yourself many times. A lot of people experience this when they experience disruption. The next step is bargaining. You're trying to bargain. Maybe you can make this better. Maybe we can fix this. For instance, my car, I get out and I talk to it. I tell it, listen, I know the wheel is flat, but if you blow yourself up right now, I'll do an oil change over the weekend, I promise you. You just start bargaining with whatever is disrupting you. You start bargaining with your health. You start bargaining with your finances. You start bargaining with the people that you feel you're going to lose in your life. You start bargaining with everything around you. And then the next step is despair. And a lot of people stay there. And they live there. You get to a point of, there's no way to get out of this. Life has treated me unfairly, and that's why I'm where I am. It's hopeless. I'm not going anywhere. And a lot of people even do suicide while they're there. They commit suicide. But there's a next step. There's always a next step. And they've proven this all over the world. And this is not, what I'm giving you here is not in the Bible. This is what we found is true about life. Acceptance. Acceptance is the next step. Okay, I'll accept that something has disrupted my life. And the next thing is, so what am I going to do about it? Am I going to pick myself up? No matter what it is. Even if it's permanent. What am I going to do? If you can accept it, the next step is thriving. You get to a place where you even get stronger than before. And you dream again. And you see life happening again. And you enjoy to think of the future. You get to that point where you actually start thriving. Now, when I talk about resilience is like a catalyst. Resilience helps you to make the impact of the disruption to be less and to even shorten this time frame of grief. This is more or less the time. This is how long it takes us to get over grief, in other words. Just one thing just for interest's sake, that I want to say. They say that people that lose a loved one in their lives, that they've been connected to and they were happily together, or a family member or something, the general observation is that you take 3 years to get over it. So since you start till the thriving, it takes 3 years. And they say in divorce, it's exactly the same. When a husband and a wife gets divorced, it takes almost 3 years for them to get from where it happened to thriving again. It takes almost 3 years. That's why it's so dangerous to get married too early after a divorce. It's quite dangerous. It's not a quick thing that you're supposed to do. If you went through all the stages, it's fine. But resilience helps you to make this time frame a bit shorter, and it makes the impact a bit less. So if there's something you need to fight for, it's that. I remember this week, Elra, my youngest son, he, of all his friends in his class, he's the only one who has not yet lost a tooth. What do you call wisseltande in English? Yeah, so, and he's quite concerned about it. He wants to also be like his friends without teeth, you know. And today, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, he just came to me and he said, Dad, I think this one is loose. And he did like this in his mouth with his tooth. And I said, okay, come here, let me check this out. And you never go to your dad or stuff like that, ever. Let me give you advice this morning. Because your dad's going to try to loosen it up even more. And that's who I am. I mean, my daughter also went through this. She only came to me once, never again. And then I'm just supposed to look, but not to touch. But this guy decided, no, he wants to, this is my youngest one, it's his first tooth, and he came to me, and I just gave it a bit of a push. And it was really loose, and it came a bit loose more. So he was, just about 20 minutes later, he's at the breakfast table, and he says, yes, check this, it's very loose. I said, come, let me feel again. And I thought to myself, he didn't feel something the first time, but I'm going to disrupt his life if I take this tooth out suddenly, you know. He's going to experience some disruption. So he came again, and I just pushed it. He said, ow, but the tooth was out. It was here on his lip. He just said, ow. And he said, check, Marcus, check, it's so small. And suddenly he realized it was bleeding. He said, oh, this thing is bleeding a lot. And he just put some paper on it, and that was it. That was the whole disruption thing. I thought to myself, he just took this bouncing back thing seriously. He did it in 2.5 seconds. It didn't take long to go through the process of grief. But that's called resilience. I mean, we can all have that kind of resilience if we just practice it. I don't want to come this morning and make light of your disruption in your life. You might have something serious going on. And it takes time to get through this stuff. But one thing I've learned in my life is, if the small disruptions happen and you approach it with the right attitude, it actually trains you to be better when the big ones happen, when the big disruptions happen. So there was a guy that taught us about this in the Bible, and his name was James. James was the brother of Jesus. And the half-brother, he was the son of Mary and Joseph. And Jesus told his brother James, I am God in the flesh. I am the Son of God, and more than that, I'm even God in a body. And James said, okay, when we get to school, don't tell anyone, please. Just keep that to yourself. But in any case, when Jesus gave his life for what his Father wanted him to do, and he rose from the grave again, and when James saw that, he could not deny it any longer. He started to put his faith in his brother Jesus, and he actually started preaching, and he actually gave his life for exactly the same cause that his brother did. So he went through a lot of disruption while he followed Jesus. And in that time, 62 after Jesus, they actually beat him to death. And they say with big sticks, stuff like cricket bats today, or that's how he died. But if there's one guy who understood disruptions, it was James, because he experienced a lot of it. And he had a good advice for us on this. And James, he's speaking to a bunch of Jews who gave their lives to Jesus and who's following Jesus. And he said to them, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. My brothers, he's speaking, my brothers and sisters. When you tell someone you're my brother or you're my sister, you do it out of an affectionate love. So he says, it's because I love you that I tell you this. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds. Meaning, not if you face trials, whenever you face trials. So you're going to be disrupted in your life, guaranteed. None of us sitting here this morning has not experienced disruption in our lives. You might not have it this morning, maybe tomorrow, and this is not being negative. This is the truth. You might have it next week or next year. It can be small or it can be huge, but it's going to happen. Knowing that it's coming, don't you think to fight for resilience is wise? It's actually very good to fight for it. And it just depends on your attitude. And that's why he said, consider it pure joy. Now, what is he saying? In the original Greek language, I've got a little program on my computer that tells you exactly what it means. It does not mean be happy because you're suffering. It's not what it means. It's not ridiculous. It means consider the fact that you can have joy even though you suffer. That is what he's saying. He says, consider that there's joy, there's not only hurt, but there's also joy in your suffering. And focus on that and not on the negative. That is what he's saying. Focus on that. You know, the best lessons that we've ever learned in our lives is the lessons that hurt us the most. Those ones we usually remember. And we know not to repeat them. So there's joy in it. And he says, consider it to be joy. In other words, what he's saying is life does not happen to you. You are happening to life. There's a lot of people that think, I'm born in this life and this life is happening to me. Something's happening there, something's happening there, something's happening there, something's happening there. It's got an effect on me, and that is the culmination of who I am. It's not true. When you were born, you started happening to life. And that's what James is saying. He says, life's not happening to you, you are happening to life. And I'll show you a video now to illustrate it. And he keeps on going. He says, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. In other words, he says when that disruption in your life sticks its head out, the first thing you need to do is, remember, it's a test. It's a test. It's always a test. Yeah, honest, but you know what? I'm old enough not to write tests anymore. I matriculated when I was 18 or 27. But I finished with school. You never finish with school as long as you have breath in your lungs. Doesn't matter how old you are. God has never finished with you, no matter your age. And what I do know this morning is I don't know what his exact plan for all of our lives are. But the one thing I do know is he's got a plan for each and every single one of us. And the one thing that I pray for my kids is, Lord, that my kids would be who you created them to be. And that's true of all of us. God is shaping us. God is teaching us. He's not necessarily causing the disruptions, but he's going to use that disruption to teach you. Always. And he will always make it to such a point that you would thrive again if you're willing to go through the disruption and seek the joy. Not under it, over it, next to it. If you fail a test, you write it again. And no test is ever meant to destroy you. It's meant to make you stronger. Because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Now, I don't know if you know any runners, people that run for exercise. You know, that's endurance athletes. It's quite a hectic thing to do. If you tell me, honest, you know what, this afternoon at 3 o'clock, you better run a half marathon with me, I'll most probably make 10. I hope so. But I don't think I'm going to go further than 10 before I blow my last breath out. But if you tell me, Hannes, you've got 3 months to practice, on that day we're going to run a half marathon, I would be able to finish that half marathon and walk the next day without being too stiff. Because I'm going to practice for 3 months. And in that 3 months, I'm going to develop the strength to actually run the big race. So each and every single day I'm going to have a small disruption in my life that I'm not going to like. But it's going to give me the strength to overcome the big one. And that's the way that life works. That's the way we work each and every single day of our lives. So to go through a disruption is the best way to develop perseverance so that you can overcome the big ones. And then there's a promise. If you do this, Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. So how many people in life don't lack anything? I don't know a lot of people like that. He's talking about your morale. You can in yourself experience no lack. He's not talking about physical stuff. He says you will be pleased and enjoy your life. You will be at peace. You will, the word that he uses, complete, not lacking anything. You have seen, I don't know who of you have seen the movie Jerry Maguire. If you haven't seen it before, it's a love story about a guy and a girl. And in this movie, there's a famous line. Anybody knows it? Nobody wants to go for it. The famous line is, "You complete me." It sounds so corny. But he says, when I found you, it completed my life. And there's a sense that James is telling us that your disruptions in your life have the ability to complete you as a human being, if you're willing to see it the way God sees it. If you're willing to embrace it and learn from it with joy and go through it so that you can be. So, rather than fighting against disruption, running from disruption, excusing yourself, blaming disruption for your life,